Hello and welcome. I'm Megan Mermaid, your mermaid big sis for self-love, radiance, beauty, and bliss. And today I'm going to be talking about the very first mermaid empowerment, which is creation. And I am the author and the visionary artist behind the Mermaid Empowerment Oracle Deck, which you can find in the link in bio. And the Mermaid Empowerment Oracle Deck is 44 empowerments that build on each other that talk about mermaid consciousness. So, what is mermaid consciousness? Mermaid consciousness is a path to ascension that is paved in beauty, bliss, and sovereign sensuality. So, every mermaid empowerment has a mermaid empowerment mantra. And we're going to talk about the symbolism behind the image. We're going to talk about the mantra, and then I am going to share with you a prayer formation that you can say, that you can write down, that you can tap if you like to use tapping as a healing tool, and that you can start to call into your daily life. So, first of all, just to say a little bit more about mermaid consciousness, it is something that I have been downloading and receiving for about 10 years now. So, when we talk about creation, this is so much bigger than like some law of attraction teaching. It is really about learning how to co-create with the universe and how to become the artist of your fairy tale life. And that is what this mermaid empowerment is. Creation is I am the artist of my fairy tale life. So before we go into what that means and break it down a little bit more, I want you to look at this image. And here we have a mermaid that is here with a paintbrush, and there is this like beautiful little it almost looks like a flower or like sacred geometry that includes all the different colors. It also is the colors of the chakras, and you can see there's like UFOs in the distance, and we can consider this being sort of like in the mermaid cove of Sirius. If we were to think of Sirius, which is the star that is filled with basically the highest wisdom that's available on the planet. So the mermaids of Sirius, they're bringing down this whole concept of mermaid consciousness from Sirius, the highest wisdom. And mermaids themselves represent air and water, right? They're half human and they're half fish. And that's also like air communication, our mind, and water is like the subconscious. So a mermaid has the ability to swim through both the mind and the heart, the emotions and the intellect, and find a balance between the two. And so when we think about this idea of creation, what creation is telling us is that when we come down here to this human world and we are in this human consciousness, that we get to co-create with the universe. And so even if none of that other stuff makes any sense, think about it. What does it mean to be the artist of your fairy tale life? If we think about having this paintbrush and we think about, the earth plane being a canvas, what would you color into existence? If you were to create a new story for your life, what would you create? And so when we get into later mermaid empowerments, we talk about this idea of beauty, and we talk about alchemy through beauty and transmutation. But this whole aspect of creation is the very first step. We have to become creators of our reality, co-creators with God, spirit, the universe, whatever you want to call that beautiful force of all things. And in order to do so, we have to then take control of our mindset, which we learn throughout the other empowerments. But when you become the artist of your fairy tale life, you move from being a victim into the storyteller, the narrator. You move from just things happening to you to intentionally living and creating this blueprint of how you want to go about your human experience. And so being the artist of your fairy tale life doesn't mean that you can bypass your spiritual lessons or your human or physical lessons, but it does mean that you can orchestrate them throughout this framework of the human experience. And by taking advantage of this aspect of creation, we can really start to take our power back. And all of the mermaid empowerments lead to crowning yourself as the star of your reality. So it's all about taking back ownership of your life, of your feelings, of your emotions, and recognizing that in order to crown yourself as the star of your reality, you've got to start with creation. You've got to start with this idea that you are the artist of your fairy tale life. And I love this concept of the fairy tale life, because the fairy tale life is not necessarily a perfect life, right? When we think of stories or movies or fairy tales, there's a specific hero or heroine's journey where the character has to develop. They have to go through challenges, and there might be moments in the plot where you think, how are they going to get out of this one? And so this idea of creation is when you create that fairy tale that you're going to walk through. And when we get to the journey in other places, we learn more about this hero's journey. But for now, this is the first step. So if you were to think today, what you want to create in your life. So if you were to think about maybe a specific area in your life, maybe it's love, maybe it's business, maybe it's in your finances, maybe it's in your home and family, whatever it is that you want to create. If you were the artist of your fairy tale life and you could take this paintbrush of possibilities and you could start putting your imagination into it, what is it that you would want to create? So creation is the first step. And then through this journey, we become that embodiment of ourselves that crowns ourselves as the star of this reality through this fairy tale. And what's really beautiful is that all of the mermaid empowerments, just like the tarot, they always come back to the beginning, to creation. We create something, we create a journey, we become the person that reaches the end of the journey. And ultimately, we want to create something new and we start all over again. And it's this really beautiful process. And so creation has so much potential. It has so much imagination and so much joy. And when we think about, instead of what we don't want to have happen, and we start living intentionally, and we think about, wow, I am a creator. I'm a co-creator with spirit and with God. And I'm creating with every thought that I think. I'm creating with every feeling that I have. I'm creating with every step that I take. So if you're already creating, how can you get more intentional about the creation process? And how can you start to see the magic that's already in your life? So this is that first step, creation. And if this interests you, I invite you to try my mental reset journey. It's totally free, of no cost to you. And it goes through creation as well as some of the other mermaid empowerments that are curated into this journey for self-love and radiance. And every day, you get a video, you get the mermaid empowerment lesson and the prayer formation, which I'm going to share with you right now. And it helps you to start this sacred morning ritual that you can start your day with this lesson and this intention. So for example, if you were taking creation and you say, I am the artist of my fairy tale life at the beginning of the day, all the experiences that you have will be filtered through the lens of creation. And you sort of have this navigation system of your journey through creation. And once you spark that idea that you want to create, you start that journey, and the day will show you how creation is already starting to take effect and materialize in your world. So I'm going to end today's lesson with that prayer formation that you get in the 7-day mental reset journey. And so you can just repeat after me and write them down. They're really great. And I also want to say that I call them prayer formations because they are one part affirmation and then one part affirmative prayer. And I'm a member of the Unity Church. And so prayer, like affirmative prayer, speaking things into existence as if they've already happened and having gratitude, is a really powerful practice. But I also understand that sometimes people hear the word prayer or they hear God, and there's some triggers around that. So if you want to say thank you, universe, or if you want to say thank you, spirit, or thank you, source, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I choose God because for me, that really represents like the divine force of love that flows through all things. And that's what I mean. But there is no dogma behind this. There is no like cap of you have to believe this in order to use this word or to use these prayer formations. They're designed so that you can start to feel into already living in this embodiment of creation that you're calling forth. So we'll go ahead and say them after me. Thank you, God, for the gift of creation. Thank you that I'm worthy and deserving of my dreams. Thank you that I am already radiant and loved. Thank you that I can be, do, and have whatever I want. Thank you that fear is no match to my creative power. Thank you that I am enough. Thank you that it's safe to be seen and safe to shine bright. Thank you that I'm confident, visible, and powerful beyond measure. Thank you that I am surrounded by love and support. Thank you that I create with courage and compassion. Thank you that I color my world with beauty, possibility, and grace. Thank you for the audacity to shine in the darkest of spaces. Thank you that I rebel with my joy. Thank you that my light uplifts and empowers others. Thank you that my creations inspire others to create too. Thank you that I am aligned with the divinity within me. Thank you that it's safe to be my most radiant mermaid goddess self. Thank you that it's already done. Thank you that I am the artist of my fairy tale life. And that is that prayer affirmation on the first day of your mental reset journey, which you can find in that link in bio. Other ways to work with the Mermaid Empowerments, you can say it whenever you need a boost or a reset throughout the day. So if this is the empowerment of the day, if you're worried, if you're stressed, you say, I am the artist of my fairy tale life. I am the artist of my fairy tale life. I am the artist of my fairy tale life. You can set a reminder like at 11:11 or a fun magical number that you like and say it. You can speak it over your water and say, I am the artist of my fairy tale life. You can stir it in your coffee. There's all sorts of witchy ways that you can use this empowerment. And I invite you to use your creativity because the lesson is creation and you are the artist of your fairy tale life. So stay tuned for all of the Mermaid Empowerment messages. And again, you can find that mental reset journey as well as a link to purchase the Mermaid Empowerment Oracle Deck below. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, you can visit meganmermaid.com. So if you want to stay up to date on all of the mermaid magic, make sure to like, subscribe, and share and do all the things. And again, I'm Megan Mermaid and I'm your big sis for self-love, radiance, beauty, and bliss. I will see you next time. I love you so much. Thanks for being here with me on this very first dive into all of the mermaid empowerments.